Whew. To get into it, I could make another 70 board just so I have one. It's not a bad idea. So, because I might go ahead and make another 70 board. Why do I make them? I mean, the models just help with testing. The goal, obviously, is to go large. It's the Tendy, the current state of the Tendy board, looking absolutely fantastic. But I think we're going to go ahead and do another 70 board setup so that I have at least an extra base ready to go. Alright. Let's set them up there. So where's that? Let's go to new technology. Oh yeah, yes, we're making a new 70 board. I'm debating making another extra one, but I'm analyzing things. Just give up. what a lame thing to say. It's been years. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, it's gonna be years. You know, this is why people get depressed when they're older because they have a bad relationship with time. Years, that doesn't really mean anything. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Look at this tool that they want me to use. This is ridiculously tiny. Can we get a tour of the lab? I mean, well, actually, technically, this is the lab right here. Each one of these is a unit of lab. And part of that relates to my hypothesis about the scale of focus. I think this right here, 5x7 roughly, this is slightly smaller, 5x7. Which I found out today is going to be a problem because we're supposed to attach the solar panel, but it's going to be like this much longer than this panel, so it's going to stick off. So I might have to actually buy, a different solar panel. But anyway, please talk in our words. I am talking in your words. You don't know what a solar panel is? What's our goal here? A board that can slip, slide, and scoondoggle anywhere it wants. Well, I guess scoondoggle isn't your word. I do like to make up little words like that from time to time. Look at these cute little baby trucks. They actually have bushings on them. That's not a bushing. It looks like a bushing. But it's made out of plastic. That's interesting. Anyway, what's up, you guys? Oh, plus, we got it. Thankfully, yesterday on live, I made myself a full set of time machine rings. I'm literally zooming through time at this point. You guys can't even imagine. I mean, with this guy right here, this version of the time machine, which is powered, BT dubs. With that version of the time machine plus the hover configuration, I'm zooming through time. Zooming. Compared to traditional speeds. I sometimes think people think it should look. I mean, when I get to higher levels of the time machine, there might be something actually visual, but it literally is zooming. And when I say zooming, I mean think about like when you're taking a photo, right? When you zoom in to a destination, that is the kind of zoom I mean when I say I'm zooming through time. And I think that more accurately describes. This is crazy. Why do they want me to have to? They should have just set them all up. They think I want the joy of setting up my own mini skateboard. I have no desire to do this. What are they? Oh, the little nuts are just for the wheels. The screws go in with no bolts. It's interesting. Can do that on a skateboard. This is entirely too frustrating. But it's for science. What can I say? Gojo. Gojo's in here? Jaden, what's up? Hoverheads, heck yes. Well, thanks for the glizzies. Okay. Need lights on the time machine. Oh, yeah. That's probably going to be the generation after the solar one. So the next one after it is going to have built-in. Well, actually, that one's supposed to have built-in motors, but maybe motors are supposed to come after lights. I think that might make more sense. I have to be temporally accurate, so I have to go look up how it actually went down in history. What did we invent first? Light bulbs or motors? I feel like motors probably came first. Though it depends what you call a light bulb, because I mean, is a torch a light bulb? It's kind of a light bulb. But then, is a mill an engine? That's a good question. Thank you so much, M, for the roses. I felt stupid not understanding in the beginning. Now I'm enjoying the show. Well, glad to have you here, sir. Sorry that you felt stupid at any point. That's definitely not my intention. It's to be superior in any type of way. Though I could see how that would be an inadvertent consequence of the words that I use. So I do genuinely apologize. Maybe there's something I can do to prevent that from happening in the future. Can't think of anything though. Looks like I could just use simpler words, but that doesn't seem like fun. As much fun. Plus, the words are kind of very important. That's all your money. Oh, well, it's for donating. Oh, you donated some stuff. Thank you, Andres. Thanks for the dolphin. Brooks, thank you for the roses. What, bro? I'm pissed. How did I miss this many messages? And you sent 11 roses, Brooks. That's okay. Well, anyway, thank you for the roses. I appreciate you very much. I shouldn't have said it like that. Thank you guys thank you for the dolphin so much. I don't know what your name is. It looks like it to be in Morse code. I can't sight read Morse code, unfortunately. Actually, I can't read Morse code in any type of way. Also, thank you for the roses, my guy. What for Galaxy? Someone drive a oh, that's drove to Galaxy. Sorry, I'm a little locked in here. But thank you guys for all the dropping the little stuff. It's kind of interesting. I wonder who first thought. What social media app first started with gifts? Because when did that become? Why is that so inherent? I do actually have some theories about gift giving and how central it is to human culture. It's very fascinating. And where the value comes, right? Because there's only, right now, I do randomly drop gifts at random people's channels if I go into them or whatever. If I'm scrolling and I jump into a live and I just feel like, dropping. So Wiley guy, thank you for the cute little, what kind of dog is that? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Milo, thank you for the rose. I don't know why they don't just have a list somewhere that I can look at that shows everybody who gifted, or do they? Thank you guys for the 5K likes also. I mean, just got started, I feel like. Literally just now. What is this? This, my friends, is a tech. And unfortunately, it did not come assembled. So here I am in the lab on a Monday night, 30 minutes past my bedtime, assembling a mini mini skateboard. Really, I should get a tech sponsorship, but I guess there's people who have more views than me fingerboarding, so whatever. Bro said I felt that. I mean, it's happening. There's really no way for me to speed up this process. Oh, but back to time travel and zooming being a great analogy for speeding up, especially the way that I'm speeding up time travel. I think what my time machines do is literally akin to like zooming into a photo, right? They give you the potential to zoom. How do they do that? Fourth dimensional space. So, we're always time traveling. And all these things, all these various things that we could spend time on are part of our timeline. Cool. I don't know which is Dominic Walker? Is that who is on real skateboards? But anyway, time travel. Thank you, Abram. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for the 6K likes. But then when you focus on something, right? Like for all of you who have various hobbies and talents and stuff like that, you'll focus on a certain area of the world. And then it's so interesting, I wish I could go back just to document. This is why it's so important to write poetry when you're young, because you just won't have access to certain thoughts again, I think. Fortunately, school forces you to do that. But because the thought process of when you're learning something at like 16, 17 is really fascinating, because your brain has to do so much storytelling in order to focus on something to learn about it, right? It's like, for me, I was learning how to play drums at 15. That was like my big thing. And I was skateboarding a little bit, not really. Drums were a little bit bigger to me, and music was bigger to me than skateboarding was. Though, I mean, I spent my time, learned how to ollie and stuff. Though I feel like that was more 13 than 15, but 15, 16, 17, I was definitely learning how to ollie better and better. That's about it though. But anyway, you romanticize, whatchamacallit, drumming, you romanticize skateboarding and stuff when you're so young, and that is your mechanism to zoom. Now, my time machines do that without all the extra energy. You're able to get into something because you have the fourth dimensional space. But I mean, we do that all the time. People make all types of time machines for themselves. Brooke and Michaela, as much as I like to have ladies here, if you cannot find it about yourselves to enter into a state of decorum that is befitting the gift your parents gave you when they decided to raise you and give you names, then you will be banished. And I too will be banished, because I will miss out on your wit, your intellect, your individuality, and the seasoning that you may potentially bring to my life through your uniqueness. But anyway, DYL, I'll shout you out just for fun, my friend. I'll shout you out just for fun. You know, I mean, I only do stuff for fun at this point. You know, I'm literally only almost 40 years old. So, you know, a majority of the energy that I'm going to expend in my life has already occurred. And I did it correctly. That's the good thing when you really pursue who you are in your 20s. I don't think it should be about money. You can always make money. Money doesn't even really do anything except for allow you to give it to other people in exchange for some stuff that they're going to have to give up anyway. So you can just wait them out. But in your 20s, you're supposed to be really figuring yourself out. Me, you know, music, traveling, performance, you know, just getting out there. I think that's what you need to do in your 20s. Just express yourself. You don't know what's going on. There's no reason to pretend you do. Just get out there, use your energy, and don't allow yourself to become a pawn. Because unfortunately, 60-year-olds who do not fulfill themselves by self-actualizing will attempt to squander your youth through schemes. Ignore them. Don't listen to what all these bitter old people are saying. It doesn't really matter. Do you? There's no time like the present. Cat, thank you so much. 70, 80. 80K. It's a little bright, isn't it? That's a little bit better. What am I attempting to do? Sir, I've dropped. Actually, let me be kind. I am making a model of a few versions of original hoverboards, which I've come up with. Also, I'm dabbling in technology which allows us to amplify our natural, God-given abilities to time travel. You know what's crazy though? This is fascinating. I truly think that, and people think I'm joking, but I don't know why. It's like I'm not even like up to the craziest stuff. Like I'm up to very sustainable activities. Nothing's even that expensive that I deal with. I'm educating myself, learning physics and all sorts of things. But anyway, one of my crazier things that I'm starting to believe more and more is that this is actually kind of fun. I thought it would be annoying, and it is a little bit annoying, but it's not as annoying as I thought it would be. What was I going to say? Oh, I think the time machine ability is so powerful at this point that anything that I put into the time machine gets pushed into the future. Now, you have to ask yourself really, because people are like, oh, what is that? I don't think people really understand what that means. One, the future is hyper-localized. I can't find the wheels. Oh, they're there. But anyway, let me just cut to the chase. I don't want to do a bunch of beating around the bush. There are even enough wheels in here. There's 3 more decks. I'm only making 2 decks though, because the other 2 decks I'm gonna need in case these are dual decks. I guess there are only 3 more boards to set up, so I would only need 12 wheels in total. Though I don't feel like I see 12 wheels here, but there must be 4 of each color, so perhaps they're back here. Okay, yeah, they are. I'm going with black wheels because I think they're cool. Sorry, I was talking about time travel. And I even learned some more about entropy today, and that entropy is literally the measure of unobservable information in a system, which I was already operating from the fact that entropy is the fourth dimension, along with data, as I've been saying, data, information. And so I'm just being consistently proven correctly. And, why do systems have unobservable data? It's not like we can't see it. We know that atoms exist. But, it's really due, I think, to the discreteness of time in general. And what allows for this concept, which we call time, which is really an unfolding. Anyway, back to, and this actually brings me to what I was saying about the time machines. I think they're literally amplifying everything I put inside of them. You might, if you watch consistently, remember, I had a different kind of Band-Aid. This is a Band-Aid right there on my finger. I had a different kind yesterday. And I think just by having it on video, encoding in with the time machine, it time traveled into a more advanced, this is just an adhesive silicone strip, which is quite amazing. And it allows for a wet, moist healing environment. And then it's not just that. Everything I put into the time machine, I'm moving into the future. Look at how truthfully all the platforms are growing. I truthfully think that part of that is, a progression into a type of my future. But also, I started bringing some of the drinks that just casually, because I was, get thirsty. And you get a drink or two. And I've been bringing them in here. So I brought a Diet Coke in here the other day. And I didn't even buy those Diet Cokes. It's a long story, but they ended up in my possession. But I brought that in here. And since then, I found two drinks, which are the best drinks I've ever had in my entire life. I'm not even joking. One of them, the best drinks overall, because right now I'm doing a low carb diet. And one of them was an A&W, sugar-free A&W cream soda. I can't tell you guys how much I love cream soda. Like, if I could really illustrate to you the stories. And they've never done a sugar. I've been looking around for sugar-free cream sodas. I'm telling you, they have not done it. And then I find it. And then today, I go into the store, and guess what? I'm going to go grab it. I'm going to go grab it because I'm going to drink it anyway. I'm not supposed to, but I'm going I had to grab it. Boom. This is the most, never in my life could I have fathomed a better drink. And now that I've brought it into the time machine and it's encoding, I can't imagine what's going to come next. Because I'm telling you the truth. Anyway, it's just my own personal opinion. But, it does have a little bit of caffeine, which is why I'm not supposed to be drinking it, because I need to go to sleep. I'm literally 48 minutes past my bedtime. But I really haven't adhered to my bedtime since the first week that I instituted it. So let's go ahead and knock this guy out. At least we can make some progress on the night. We're constructing, by the way, the seventh dimensional hoverboard that I already invented. Now I've built two so far. This is the third one that I'm building, and I'm actually going to build 2 right now, so I'll have built 4. That data is probably greatly going to boost us with both boards, the 10th dimensional and the 7th dimensional. I'm actually going to make full sizes of the 7th dimensional board as well. Having to make a couple of them has really kind of encouraged me into realizing how amazing they are. The 7th dimensional board is almost actually starting to edge out to me the 10th dimensional board. Why are you making people mad? It's the most curious thing. It's the most curious thing. People aren't mad at, like, literal, the worst people in the world. And yet they've somehow generated angst. Somehow they've generated angst for me over here, while they're the ones who've come over. I didn't even invite anybody. And yet somehow they've found they've found the time to think of me as an enemy, but whatever. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Life is pretty interesting, and humans are not immune to entropy any more than anything else. So that's why I don't really get upset with anyone. I think it's just angles, You can never really know what angle someone is approaching you from and why it hits them a certain kind of way. It kind of reminds me of the whole blue dress, or like the dress. Well, some of you are not even old enough. You're like 5 when that came out, but the whole dress, like people see it in different colors or whatever. I think that's kind of a good way of understanding that human beings are not here to be predictable. They're here to go through their own timeline. So I can't begrudge anybody, because I've hated on all kinds of people throughout my life. I'm sure of it. Can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of music that I didn't like the first time I listened to it, and then I would like rag on my friends, and then lo and behold, I'm a fan. So I get it. It also perplexes people. I don't know why people think I wouldn't be able to have a job and do this. Although I will say that for the majority, did I have a job the majority of the last 6 years? It's kind of interesting. One of my main employer for the last 6 years, which I kind of also consider my biggest client, but wasn't really the most consistent. But whatever. It's not like I'm up here all day. I know some people will be live all day. I couldn't even do that. I honestly don't like. I was thinking about that today. I was like, I don't know if I like media enough to ever really do it full time again. I did do it full time for a certain portion of my life. But it's not really, that's why it's just you do different things at different ages. At this point in my life, I don't really need to do that all day. I like paperwork. I actually genuinely enjoy it. I find it to be cozy. Nice. Anyway, just kind of chatting with the hoverheads. It's late. But we're working on, now we have 270 bases that are going to be encoding. We're going to fill them both with wax, hopefully. If not tomorrow, then the next day. But no worries, we have plenty of other things to work on. Plenty of other things. I'm going to let these encode on this surface as much as I would love to be able to use it to do other tests because it's the most advanced time machine that I've ever created. I think it's best if these two encode upon it. And so I will leave them to do thusly. There's going to be, one of these is definitely going to be a dual decker. So this is what the top deck of the hoverboard ended up looking like. I actually don't even know what this is. What the heck is this? Oh, I remember. This foam piece came with a different tech deck that I had bought online. We don't need that though. So we're not going to do that foam layer. But it is, maybe I'll just use this one so I don't have to go. This one's kind of aged. But basically the way that it goes is bottom deck, the top deck goes. This is the full 17 dual deck. I'm going to make one of these. And then you have the 7D core in the back. I decided against that. That was going to be the hoverboard, the dual deck, but I'm not going to make a full size of the dual deck because it's a death trap. I don't mind making models of it, but I'm not going to make a full sizer. It's I can't imagine. I mean, it could be done. I was going to replace this piece with a shock absorber. So, which I was kind of having a little bit of trouble sourcing that piece as well. But, because I was like, I needed it to be about full size. This would be about 5 inches. But it would have to be able to support, 400 pounds of force. Because let's say you're 200 pounds and you jump on top of something, you're putting a good amount of force on it. And so I couldn't really find anything. The best thing I could find is like RC car shocks. And I don't think those can take 400 pounds of force. When are we traveling back in time? That's pretty interesting. I don't really think there's a forward and back in time. I just don't think that those are relevant directions in time. I'm not actually sure where we get the linearity. I suppose entropy technically always increases, right? And so that's why we're just saying, okay, you can't technically go back to a state where, it sort of gives direction to the concept of time. But in reality, time would be moving at the very least in all directions of space at the same time, because space is simply three-dimensional and time would be fourth dimensional. So at the very least, thank you so much for the heart me and the 16K likes, everybody. At the very least, time would have to be moving in all directions at the same time, but I think it's even more complex than that. If there's 6 total directions, I think time is probably moving at 6 cubed, if anything, at the very minimum, or at the medium anyway. Okay, so we've made 2 decks. I could go forward with making some more rings. Oh, I should go get my other ring. I've been wearing the hover configuration for the last hour or so. It might prove to where the Nexus configuration. I have some ideas about this is also helping me to study the 10th dimension and the 11th dimension more. I actually want to make 10 more rings so that I can wear what I would call the television configuration, as I've correlated television to the 20th dimension. Oh, okay. What does that say? Kenya, the data tonight is great. Oh, thank you so much. I mean, and it truly is. Though, I mean, data's always great. That's why it's just like, harvest it, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's part of the goal of the time machines, too. And time machines are easy to make. That's one thing I've displayed for everyone. It's like, you can just make your own time machine. All you need is to write time machine on something, or you don't even really have to write time machine. You can call your time machine whatever. So you can call it hashtag blue discovery. That could be the genre of your time machine, and it's going to encode everything along those lines. Not to mention, it's going to be a reference. I don't think we realize how unstable even our own recognition of time is. And how easy it is for entropy to confuse us. Okay, let's bring the teleporter out and see if we can make a little progress on that. I didn't have any time for that yesterday. Oh, I was going to tell you about the 11th dimension and what discoveries I've had since wearing the Nexus configuration. So I really only wore the Nexus configuration for about 30 minutes last night when I first made the rings. And put them on. But already they've begun working. And one thing I've realized that is a manifestation of the Nexus dimension is something that's going to be, what the freak? Seems super obvious. Meetups. Like when people meet up. Funnily enough, one of the first concepts I had of the Nexus Force when I was thinking about it, I was thinking the Justice League. Right? The Justice League. Why? One phrase that I've come to meditate upon when it comes to the 11th dimension is the meeting of equals. Right? Human beings are probably the most diverse things in the entire universe. There are no two humans that are even remotely the same. And a lot of equations are the exact same way. But what does the equal sign truly do? Because it's it's not as straightforward as you would think. I have a few discoveries actually to talk about. But what does the equal sign really do? That is the question of the nexus. It allows the meeting of these diverse things, and you have to balance the equation. The variables are going to have to equal certain quantities based on, and why are the variables variable? Because they can allow for the meeting of equals. And so, similarly, you think about the Justice League, right? Superman and Batman, completely different things. Completely different things. This is fascinating. But the Justice League allows. Am I right, Loki? Start a podcast. I mean, I have a podcast. Yes, I need to work on that because I said I was going to upload these as podcasts, and I am still going to do that. And honestly, it would be a great podcast. At the very least, it'd be a great podcast to go to sleep to. While I'm talking, I'm going to encode based off of some other information that I've gotten about circles and the concept of zero, of the zero dimension, which is critical to higher dimensions, which anyone who, does a lot of math in here would know. But anyway, yeah, so the meeting of equals. And then I was funnily enough, so those who don't know this about me, I've had many errors. And one of my errors, and one of my preferable states, which is fascinating when we're talking about higher dimensions as well, is to do poetry. I like to do live poetry. Um, and I never really thought of myself as like a spoken word poet. I was more of a written poet, but um, I have read poetry around a bunch of different spots and stuff like that, and I like to do it. And since I moved to a new city, I was thinking, yo, that was one of the epiphanies I got as soon as I started working in the Nexus configuration, which was, you know what? I can get out to an open mic. The meetings, the meeting of equals. Similar to the Justice League thing. It's fascinating. But anyway, where this also translates is for the hoverheads. It's starting to have me meditate upon, what would be the right meetup for the hoverheads. I was thinking about maybe doing some sort of like, I don't know. I mean, we're already doing it, getting live, but I feel like this is a little bit, like I'm live. Everyone else isn't live. But people always want to come up and stuff like that. But I was like, what if I did some sort of Zoom or something like that? I don't know. Some sort of Nexus. They say the Nexus event. It's funny how, because I actually started watching Loki. In Loki, the Nexus events, I don't even remember what they are, but they're like some sort of event where somebody changes, like a variant changes something or something like that. I don't remember. But they're negative. Why? Because sci-fi is always dystopian. Why? Because low resolution of the past or the future always looks dark. Always looks confusing. Low resolution itself is frightening. Okay. You love Loki? That's a dope read. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I haven't been able to get into the second season. I really don't like sad stuff. Not that Loki's sad. It's not sad, but I'm sure it's going to end on an upbeat note. But I just like for things to be going well all the time. So it's hard for me to watch. That's why I like animes where like the dude's OP like the entire time. Perfect. Great. That's what I want to see. Someone just winning all day. Um, really working on an entirely new teleportation concept here. Fortunately, I did some research today, which is kind of what I'm getting into. But anyway, so the Nexus event in Loki was all about something weird, but I think also you think about, okay, what does that mean for human beings in a positive way? I think one thing that is so surprising, I was considering writing a poem, funnily enough, today, where I got into the concept of, the true difficult part of reality isn't that there's so many, that people are so bad or anything like that. The difficult, how do you account for quantum mechanics in the 10th dimension? So the 10th dimension, hover is basically an excitation of time. Right? And I can break that down a little bit more. It's an excitation. Why? It's simple arithmetic when it comes to dimensions. Quantum mechanics is the 6th dimension, which is also correlated to excitations are systematic statistics. They're not actual, right? There's no actual electron. What we call the electron is an excitation of the electric field, which is a statistical entity of a system. There's no such thing as an electron, but there's things that you can, by understanding the statistics of how energy will work, there's things that you can predict, and there's things that you can do. which is why quantum mechanics is fundamental to so much of our modern technology. And being able to predict outcomes in different situations, you're able to predict quantum tunneling of, super tiny microchips and things like that. So hover being an excitation of time, because think about this. It's not hard to defy gravity, right? If I jump up in the air for a brief quantity of time, right, I will be in the air. Now, when you're attempting to hover, what you're doing is you're going directly to that temporal moment, that moment where you were in the air and you're creating you're creating a standing wave, essentially, in that location where you're staying in the air via, there's lots of inputs. Getting great data right now on the teleporter, by the way. What was I talking about before that? That was such a great question. I departed from what I was discussing earlier. Use magnets. Let me grab some magnets. Well, sorry to disappoint, but it seems as though my magnets have absconded from their storage location. I am probably the agent of said departure, but I do not recall what I did with them, which is great. That in itself gives me some ideas about where I can gain progress, just organization, simple organization, which is partly what the time machines are supposed to be helping me do. When will we expect Portal to be ready? I can't say yet. It's a little bit too early. Technically, this was supposed to be a 2-year journey. So, I think I may be onto something. I fear once he's figured out levitation aspect, it will open an entire galactic wormhole. It's very interesting. I think as human beings, our imagination is so fascinating. So fascinating. So powerful. Nothing more powerful than imagination. But we must always also remember the scale at which we operate as human beings. We are tiny. And we are weak. Relatively. So it's not so much that we can't make wormholes. I actually think that wormholes might be fundamental to certain aspects of energy and energy loads. Because, well, one thing in my hypothesis, energy doesn't really want to exist in a higher localization or a higher local quantity than the largest of molecules. Interesting. This right here is almost a topological molecule in and of itself, being that it's a suspension in a suspension in a suspension in a suspension, which pushes it past a 4D substrate into sort of 5D substrate. There's an epiphany right around the corner. I'm about to grab it. I'm not sure exactly what it is pertaining to. Wow. Let's analyze that really quick. That is stunning. It is leaking. Keen eye, my friend. Though, is leaking a problem is the question. Or is it a feature? What am I looking for? I have some intense organization to get into this week. Okay. Interesting. Oh, teleportation. Let's get into some of the concepts of teleportation really quick. This might help me extract some data. Again, the teleport is about a 2-year project, ladies and gentlemen. So right now we're just getting foundational data to even begin. Though I've already invented one whole teleporter, and I think we're probably another 2 hours of study away from, if not 15 minutes of study away from a second teleportation prototype. The first one is the track system teleporter, which I invented, which you might have seen. Those were the first teleporter videos. And that one is going to be great if I decide to build it, truthfully, in a macro, but we had the model. This one, though, is starting to give me some concepts. So teleportation, 10th dimension plus the 3rd dimension, which would mean a 3-dimensional hover. What are some characteristics about 3D? 6 directions. The proton of the quark. Strange quark. Let's see here. If we have the receiver here, sender here. I was learning some fascinating things about kernels in math. I'm barely being able to just kind of scratch it, which of course is the premise of my teleportation research and technology. It's fascinating. But I really am going to, in the next few months, going to have to figure out how to become a major student of linear algebra, because my proficiency is just so low. I think the problem with mathematics right now, which is why I'm almost glad that I'm approaching it via another angle, is that there's so much, of course math is accurate, but there's so much philosophy that you have to absorb in order to get into math, because of the way they've chosen to describe things based off of, just the different states of discovery for different concepts. And so that's what can be very jarring in math, is that you have to change fundamentally the way that you think, not necessarily to the right way of thinking, but to a way of thinking that will enable you to grasp the subject at hand. But anyway, I'm rooted enough in some of my approaches that I think I will simply just greatly benefit without any risk, greatly benefit from massive linear algebra research. So I'm going to get into that. 400 people in here with no life, sir. You are one of the people in here. That's the most astonishing aspect of it. But anyways. Ooh, pure absolute data. Yeah, I know. Bro's gonna go watch literally some guy riding around on a motorcycle for like an hour and a half. And he's gonna convince himself that he's made a better decision, so. Which, I mean, motorcycles are pretty amazing. So if that's your hobby, I'm not really pooping on you. But anyway, let's focus. Okay, I can't get distracted right now. Third dimension of the 10th dimension. There's a key here. Polymer base. The ground. I'm literally attempting to make too much of a discovery at once. And that's the good thing about having been here many times before. You know when to pull back and get back to simple testing. It's not about thinking out the solution. It's about continuing to try things until the solution itself arrives. That's what every great scientist has done. Getting the not patented, but coined teleportation bands out. So if we have a teleporter. So they set up basically as placeholders zeros of the 13th dimension. So one thing that's fascinating that I did gain from my recent petty forays into linear algebra is that you can always add in new coefficients. Meaning, I'm so uneducated, I have to make sure that I'm even using the word coefficient correctly. That's what our 19th dimensional screen is for, though. Even the word coefficient is very fascinating. Coefficient. Common types of coefficient. Algebra, the number in front of a letter like 4y. Chemistry, the big number in front of a chemical formula like 2 and 2H2O. It shows how many molecules you have. Science, a constant measure of a physical property such as the coefficient of friction. Interesting. But anyway, in math, of course, you can always, why did I look up velocity? Fascinating. Velocity is the measurement of an object's speed in a specific direction. While speed only tells you how fast something moves, velocity is a vector quantity that includes both magnitude and direction. Anyway, that's funny. But that's actually kind of interesting. You can always add more coefficients, right? As long as, the data is actually out of this world. We're encoding the 19th dimension, the 13th dimension, while we have two 7th dimensional boards encoding in the 4th dimension. We're moving at all time speeds, and I don't think that the the Nexus configuration is sleeping on this at all. So 5 is equal to 5 plus x times 0, right? Which is pretty interesting, especially because I actually don't think that 0 means nothing. It's one of my newer hypotheses is that 0 is actually a quantity. Now, what type of quantity I have not yet discerned, but I don't think there is a nothing inside of our universe. There's nowhere where you can go in our universe and acquire nothing. It's actually just a fictional concept. Why was I bringing that up? Oh. But before I discuss that, I'm going to do a couple more things. I really do have to go pretty soon, but why are vectors and velocity so closely related? The science is leading me to that direction. Vectors and velocity are closely related because velocity is defined as a vector quantity, while speed is just a number showing how fast something moves. Anyway, velocity requires both a magnitude, how fast, and a specific direction, where it goes. Because it includes a direction, it must be represented and calculated as a vector. Interesting. Interesting. Let's go here. Let's dive a little deeper at the core connection. Displacement, interesting, is a vector. Velocity is calculated by dividing an object's change in position, known as displacement, by the time it takes. Because displacement is a vector pointing from start to finish, velocity inherits that exact direction. Interesting. From the future 2050, maybe you need to stretch it. Oh, that's interesting. It's funny you say that because I had that as part of my intuition, but I didn't buy into it. But funnily enough, that kind of connects the dots a little bit. Oh my gosh, velocity inherited it? What's inherited? Velocity, I like that as a word, velocity. Mixing velocity. Oh, I think you were saying velocity. Okay, sorry. I thought you were mixing elasticity with velocity. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's a cool concept. All right, let's take the teleportation band. I'm going to have to move some of this stuff out of the way. Go ahead and encode back there. Time machines also increase spatial capitalization. Anyway. The ubiquitous medium. Of course, there's no reason to expect that to be able to support itself. Where do you buy your slime? Almost entirely from the Dollar Tree. Oh, well, take a look at that. At 11:28, the trash people decide to come after they skipped yesterday. But I thank you for your service. Guardian. The trash. This is amazing. Let me fully rotate this. Let me fully. Oh! Could not handle the rotation. Fortunately, we did it once. And so we can do it again. This right here, I guess I was right. It was about 15 minutes to the next full-on teleportation model. Now, what this is representing, okay, we have the sender and the receiver volumes. The slime, fourth dimensional substrate, is able to encode the data both at send and receipt. Now, I'm thinking that this other slime, this is the only thing I haven't fully figured out. Kind of taking the place of the satellite. Oh, where's the freaking teleportation core? Might be one of the last pieces we need. Hold on, I might need to let this continue to encode in the back. Looks like it's gonna stay together for a little bit longer at the very least. Alright, where's our instrument? Thought I was gonna be getting off. One more discovery. I mean, trust me, you're not gonna discover teleportation without play, my friend. I know you'd like to think that you could sit in a room somewhere and math it out. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I mean, I don't know if you really need to play, but I would say it's a little bit faster. So open this up. We've been encoding this for some time. The data on it should be incredible. Oh, we're working on a teleporter right now. This right here is a hoverized array enclosing a flawless teleportation core. It is fully encoded. Teleporter 13. Whew. You have one? Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past you. I wouldn't put it past you at all. Alright, let's extract that fully. This is supposed to be part of the receiver. Let's go ahead and code this directly into the base medium. Teleporter. Synced in, sending data. The question is, I'm trying to force it. Let's take this one step at a time. Anytime you try to think out a higher dimensional problem, you actually reduce your progress greatly. I can't tell you how many times I've lost the trail. getting engorged in mental loops. But anyway, let's use the tools at hand. Anyway, as I was saying, so one of my theories about time, of course, is the E equals VD cubed, which is really just the extending the energy equation to volume and energy in the fifth dimension. And it's funny, we're talking about velocity here. There might be a way to translate velocity into speed squared. Let's go see. Is there a way to think about velocity as speed squared? I'll just get the data from that. I know it's going to say no. No, you cannot think of velocity as speed squared because they represent entirely different physical concepts with different units. Speed squared, v squared, strips away direction, changes the units to m squared over s squared, which relates to kinetic energy, not velocity. Dimensional mismatch. Velocity is measured in meters second. Speed squared is measured in meters squared per second. Meters per second, meters squared per second, squared. Squaring a vector's magnitude results in a scalar. That's not a problem though. If, hold on. There's something I need to go back and digest some of my research. I think I'm just about to crack something here. The fourth dimension, the Higgs boson. We're leaving it out somehow. Equilibrium. Okay, let's keep moving. What I was just about to do. Let's see if I can get. Because currently what we're doing is. What I'm thinking is if the translation from one spot to the next becomes about simply residing in the one spot. Think about this. This is one kind of way of modeling. And then this guy, what he's doing is encoding the translation. Think about, you have two locations. This is just one version of a teleporter. You have two locations that are completely separate, right? Bridging them is a volume. Now, whatever happens on one edge of the volume instantly happens on the other edge of the volume. Why, though? This is where we're getting into some fascinating stuff. Why? Think about what's some way we've done this in real life. I mean, electricity is actually a great example, but it might be a little bit highbrow for some of us. Think about those little machines with all the pins in them, right? And then you like push the pins and then it creates the shape on the other end. Now think about a super duper long version of that's made out of slime that can do that three-dimensionally from all directions at the same time. So that the sender and receiver are encoded. If something touches this, pushes this, that gets translated as a push immediately, instantaneously on the other side because it's pushing all the way through. Now, the problem with that, obviously, is the energy loss. Let's say you had one of these here and then one of them 100 miles away, and then you had a continuous volume. Though you wouldn't really need to do a continuous volume, you could just simulate that. But with, you know, electricity or something equally as fast. Because think about this as well. There's no time in the space of a body, right? How long does it take you as a human being to get from your arm to your leg? It's instantaneous. Why? Because you are your arm and your leg. And so you're one body. And so you're literally violating the speed of light because you can be in your arm and then instantly in your leg, right? Once you make something a singular body, you're able to violate the speed of light. So if we create an entire body, now, like I said, the issue with that is the amount of energy that it takes, because you have to fuel a body, for lack of a better word. Now, the purpose of the teleportation core in this model is to facilitate that encoding along the body and translate and communicate the force differences. We have to model it though. The force differences necessary in order to accomplish. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, honestly, there's so much data right now. So much data right now. I myself cannot even truly comprehend a good amount of it. We basically have to end the test for the night because the data has become so rich. There's no way I'm going to make much progress past this. And I have to go to sleep. I can't believe I'm a full hour and 40 minutes past my bedtime, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. This is amazing. I'm actually going to let this coat. It's going to dry out, but that'll reduce the 4-dimensional substrate into 3 dimensions. And it will, at least slightly, because it's not going to fully dry out by the time I come back here tomorrow. Wow. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, man. Beyond revolutionary. Oh, man. This one is just for the hoverheads. Just for the hoverheads. I don't even have time to explain it to the naysayers. I mean, I just did, so, I mean, if anyone doesn't get what I just said, then you're really just not even trying, to be honest with you. It's not that complicated. Prefer for it to encode at least in a slightly intact state. And of course my time machine will boost this data, so I'll come in tomorrow with 16 times efficiency. Mudmenser, thank you so much. Oh, for all the people saying making stuff, yes. Now you please make something. So easy. Do you realize that your brain is just compensating for your own lack of creativity? I'm just telling you the truth. Instead of you to make something, the reason why you won't make something after talking all that crap is because you're now embarrassed to even try to make something. Because you've so destroyed the concept of creativity in your own mind that you'd feel like a fool even picking up a pencil to draw. Don't become like that, ladies and gentlemen. Destroy yourself to attempt to heal some trauma by becoming the villain. Sad. Anyway, for the hoverheads, I appreciate you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 34,000 views. And shout out to all the people who have been making their own hoverboard tests. I repost anyone that I see engaging in any sort of hover or time machine test because it's critical. It's critical. No matter how you do it. Really, I prefer if people do their own tests. There's so many areas that we haven't discovered, but either way, I do enjoy it. But that is it for the evening. Right now we have our teleporter encoding. It's going to encode overnight, giving us wonderful data. We've basically made a second fully functional version of the teleporter. Fully completed as a model anyway, although albeit extremely crude. But you got the receiver here, sender here. Object goes in, gets replicated through the 4D substrate, encoded. The teleportation core analyzes the encoding at both ends and facilitates product generation. Amazing. The only thing I don't know about this one, which we'll be able to discover probably tomorrow night after the full encoding, is how this would scale up into it. I don't fully comprehend exactly how it would scale up. It just has to encode longer. There's no way. We're not gonna crack a breakthrough tonight on that. It's just not how science works. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. You need to buy a Tesla coil. I'm sure I will at some point. Nonsense. Interesting. I can see how you might not be able to sense what's going on here. TY master. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm nobody's master. We're all equals here. This is the Nexus, ladies and gentlemen. We're all variants here. Gonna bring this home from arts. And crafts. Okay. Subsequently, you need to rewire the organic tranquilizer so they can photosynthesize. Ooh. That's a little deep. A little too deep for me. If you don't get the data, just say so. I mean, that would be easier. You need a light chip? What's a light chip? That sounds amazing. Can you explain the thought process? I kind of did just twice. I'm about to get off, but basically, actually super explained it. But trying to think of another way to simplify it one more time. Just think about it as you enter in one side, and that side is replicated through physical means on the other side. And that goes for anything coming in or going out. It's kind of interesting. And there's a lot to that. Also, the ubiquity of volume. So if you're in a volume and the other end is in a volume, then technically you're in a superposition of both being at both ends until you exit the volume. What do I mean by that? Let's say there's two completely identical rooms, right? Completely identical, right? And one's in France and one's in China. Now, when you enter that room, there's no way for you to actually know which room that you're in. There's no way. Anyway, that's just one of the many principles behind teleportation. It's a model, yeah, it's a model. You're abusing your free will I don't think that's possible. That's why it's called free and will. Beautiful work tonight, Kenya. Thank you so much, Butterfly. You need anchor for the middle glob. You're not wrong on that. As you can see, it's continuing to move. So we're getting encoding of data just by that happening. I keep resetting it, but that's only because I'm being stubborn. Oh my gosh. See what stubbornness gets you? Complete destruction. But yeah, so that's one of the many things that the encoding will help us to understand and approach as we get closer. Very good. Good. Thank you. Is this ASMR? I hope for those who like it that they find some ASMR quality of it. Aiden, thank you for sharing the live. Pop per Cloven, what are you doing? Inventing yet another teleport. Well, this would only be the second teleportation model. But I think until we get to at least 20 models, I probably won't even try building a scaled up version. But maybe. We'll see what happens. You never know. You're a good teacher. I'm not a teacher, man. This is just all of us sharing ideas. If we weren't equals, it would actually be to my own detriment because I need so much assistance. So you see, some of you guys out here, if I watch the video back, I'm sure I can count 7 times at least where the hoverheads were the ones who prompted a breakthrough. It's discombobulated back to the lab. Well, we haven't left the lab. We're quite specifically and intentionally inside of a lab at the moment. Thank you for quantifying my intellect. Of course. I mean, I wouldn't even dare quantify it because it's infinite. But I can definitely quantify its effect tonight, and I appreciate it greatly. This is awesome right here. This right here speaks of the future. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, be kind to those around you at all times. Time travel particles, bro. Time travel particles. That's interesting. Gavin, thank you for sharing the live. Clean your lab would make it a bit more believable. Well, it's not a bit. So that's good. Then I guess I should keep it dirty. How fast will this go? I wasn't thinking instantaneous time travel was necessary. The first model really didn't get into instantaneous time travel, but I think I might be able to redefine instantaneously. I have to do a little bit of research on velocity, but I think there's something in there. History in the making, hopefully, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye, Unc. Remember to try making a hover bike with a Tech Deck BMX. Oh, not a bad idea. I'll have to do a little Amazoning tonight, maybe. What's the definition of quantify? Well, he asked it twice. I think that's a better question for Google than for me. I mean, I could give you my own sloppy definition, but what's a 4th dimensional hoverboard? That's a good question. I think I've done a 4th dimensional hoverboard. I'm not sure. I mean, it could mean many things. You have to think, dimensions are infinite in itself. But if I had to come up with, off the top of my mind, what I would consider a 4th dimensional hoverboard, it would be a hoverboard with some sort of cooling mechanism at the bottom. And it would sustain, or the frozen slime one would kind of be considered 4th dimensional. The reason I say that is because it would be using an atom as its means of hover, because, or at least a hydrogen nucleus. Just because the science of how ice is slippery. Just something you're going to have to look up because I'm too tired to get into it. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, that was a real yawn. I got to go. You guys, God bless you. Thank you for being awesome, Hoverheads. Thank you for hanging out during my research tonight, and I hope you had a great night. Thank you, Levic, for the 501 likes, and thank you for everyone else who did the other 37,800 or whatever likes, and just just for being here watching, you know what I'm saying? Even if you didn't say anything the whole time, that's gangster of you. Just being a part of this, and I appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing Tuesday. Get some rest. Don't do anything stupid. Whatever stupid stuff you're planning on doing, cancel it immediately, and instead have a super humble day tomorrow, and just focus on being yourself. Thank you so much. It's about 11:54 over here, very close to midnight. Love you guys.